This is the Frat House Sports Show. And now for this week's completely different and humorous perspective on everything sports, here's Frat House Mike and Sidekick.
Yep. Welcome back to the very last show of 2013, and no days off for us here at Frat House Sports as we're coming to you the day after Christmas. And speaking of which, how was your Christmas? You have a good Christmas, huh?
Very hectic.
Very hectic.
Very hectic
Is
Christmas.
that a good thing? A bad thing?
No, it's a good thing. It's, a little, a lot of time with the family, new niece,
Oh, that's right.
The other 2.5-year-old, so, and then, of course, Zach.
Yep.
So,
Right. Well,
So
we got
quite-
something here
quite a
for
busy-
you. We got something here for you to maybe take the stress off. All right, so there you go. Merry Christmas.
Oh, I was going to say, is this my consolation?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a moment.
Oh, Daddy's getting drunk.
So, yeah. Have you had a chance to check out any of the meaningless bowl games?
No, because you know how
Too
I kind
hectic.
of
It was too hectic, yeah.
It was a very hectic Christmas, but you know how I kind of feel about these.
Yes.
Everybody and their mom has a bowl game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do like to catch some of the bigger name bowls, but, I
Sure.
think it's gotten a little ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I kind of agree with you. No less, though, than 23 games between bowl games between now and the next time we all get together here next week at this time. 23 of them, all right? And that's including the Little Caesars Pizza Bowl, which is going on right now between Bowling Green and Pittsburgh, and I'm sure that's a barn burner. What's the score on that one?
Oh, my goodness!
I don't know.
Gracious!
Well, we were in
It's a
commercial
commercial.
break right now.
All right, well.
We got Samuel L. Jackson up there.
Break in when you see a score. It's going on behind me here. All right, but what do we have in store for you for tonight's show? Well, tonight's show, hey, how about football, more football, and nothing but football? Yeah. All right, and we're going to
And a little fantasy football.
and we're going to kick it off right there with some fantasy football at the conclusion of our Frat House Sports fantasy football season, which had you going up against Juggernauts for the championship. And I wish I could report otherwise, but not unexpected. Juggernauts clearly covered the line by winning by over 43 points.
Yes, thanks to my fantasy faux pas.
So congratulations goes out to our new champion, Leslie, and his Juggernauts team. But listen, hey, that doesn't end our fantasy football for this season, because every season Frat House Sports invites everyone to our private group to join in on the NFL Fantasy Playoff Challenge, a 4-week fantasy game that just involves the playoffs. And the very best part about this kind of fun exhibition is that there is no limit in the number of participants. There's no draft. So every one of you out there can join in and play against everyone else right here in the Frat House Sports League.
Hey, Mike, by the way, just to give you an update on the score.
Oh, yeah, what do we got up there?
With 11 minutes left in the half, it's 7-3 Pittsburgh.
It's a barn burner, folks. Barn burner. I can't wait till we're done here so I can catch a little bit of that action. Actually, tonight's game, the Poinsettia Bowl, might be the better one with
Yes.
NIU, Northern Illinois. Okay, we got the crickets done. But let's get back to this fantasy challenge. If you want to get in on that, all you got to do is go to our Frat House Sports Facebook page. Get there first. Make sure you like the page, and then leave us a message right there, or post us, or get us a message over that, and we will be more than happy to send you an exclusive invite to our league. All right? And speaking of fantasy and our Facebook page, before we get into all of our football chat for this evening, what do you say we get out and take a look at our Frat House Sports Facebook post of the week, which was, in fact, my congratulatory message that I posted up to our Frat House Sports friend Leslie and Juggernauts for winning our fantasy league. And that post got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of views. Leslie must have an awful lot of friends out there. That's the only thing I can
I was going to say, because it's sure not my friends.
So, do us a favor, keep that up. It's almost New Year's. If you haven't liked our page, make sure you get over there and do that. And then communicate with us. Leave posts, communicate, leave messages, respond to them. We're putting stuff up there every single day. All right? Okay, well, as I pointed out, we're going to be talking a lot of football. This is the last week of the NFL's regular season. Hard to believe that we're already here. Hey, without further delay, let's say we started off with 4 minutes of chat, huh?
And now, 4 minutes of football.
Alrighty, well, listen, it's not bad enough that the Detroit Lions managed to do what they, do so very, very well, and that's losing 3 games in a row to knock themselves out of the playoffs. Not bad enough they did that. They decided to play a little fantasy themselves by sending an invite to many of their season ticket holders to come watch more bad football. On Monday, the very day after the Lions somehow managed to lose to the New York Giants, 23-20 in overtime, hundreds and hundreds of Lions fans received their playoff tickets in the mail. Ouch! Oh, that's a goodie. Meanwhile, down the road in Chicago, we've mentioned numerous times how effective Bears backup QB Josh McCown has been filling in for Jay Cutler. There's been a lot of speculation about how the Bears might handle his contract in the offseason, or if he might end up getting a sizable offer from even perhaps maybe another team. Well, the other day, however, McCown said, not so fast there. Who says I want to return and play anywhere? McCown's wife and 4 kids aren't with him in Chicago. And McCown said this week that he isn't sure he wants to keep playing if it means continually missing moments in their lives. McCown, who has already been 10 years in the NFL and has appeared on the rosters of 5 different teams, said there's not enough money in the world to justify and make it feel okay to miss stuff like that. Wow, it's not often you hear that kind of thing coming from professional athletes. Applause to you, Josh McCown.
No, I think that's great. I mean, he debuted in the league in 2002.
Yep.
The guy's 34 already, so,
Absolutely.
he's settling down. So, and then I posted a story last week with Von Miller and his ACL tear about how our ACL injuries on the rise this year. We've seen Sam Bradford go down, Gronk go down.
It's been an awful large number.
It seems like there's been a lot of, perception-wise, there's been a lot of ACLs and that. So, and we're going to touch on that in a little bit, when we get through this. But, I mean, is that what your perception is? That you
Absolutely. Absolutely. It certainly appears that way. I mean, right from preseason on. And yet, as you point out, we actually decided kind of late decision here.
Yep.
We're going to bring this story back. Yeah, we're going to bring this story back in here in a couple of moments because there is a little bit bigger story that I think you discovered. All right. 67-year-old Giants head coach Tom Coughlin indicated the other day that he has something to prove in 2014. In light of the fact the Giants are currently 6-9 and will not make the playoffs, I'm assuming the quote-unquote something to prove Coughlin is referring to is winning. Giants general manager Jerry Reese may not exactly see it that way. He also had a statement about the Giants' futility that went something like this. All I know is that we've been in the playoffs 1 time in the last 4 years, and that's really not acceptable for us. That's not our standard. That's not what we shoot for. We want to put everybody on notice. Myself, everybody is on notice. That's not our standard. Many have surmised.
I may not come out alive, but I'm going in there.
Many have surmised that Coughlin will be released come this year's version of Black Monday, along with others like Lions Jim Schwartz, Buccaneers Greg Schiano, Vikings Leslie Frazier, Titans Mike Munchak, Jets Rex Ryan, Raiders Dennis Allen, Redskins Mike Shanahan, and possibly Cowboys Jason Garrett. Oh, and let's not forget that the Texans released Gary Kubiak weeks ago, and there's no guarantee that Wade Phillips will be offered that position. That's potentially 10 coaching position Sidekick. That's over 30% of the league that might be open come Monday, actually. How many of those do you think will actually happen?
I think a good percentage of them are going to happen. I'm not, I'm not quite that certain that Coughlin's going to get shown. They've had some injuries this year, and they just haven't seemed to really gel well.
Yep.
But I don't know if that's enough to get rid of Coughlin.
I'm not sure
but
about that
I think that the 2 Super Bowls is definitely weighing
Absolutely,
in his
and
favor.
that's where I was going with it. I think
So-
that potentially could help there. I'm not sure about Garrett either. I mean, I know he keeps coming up, and yet Jerry Jones has been quite, outspoken about it this week. But, of course, I've been reminded, we've heard that sort of thing from Jones before.
I mean, I don't think, honestly speaking about Garrett, I don't think Garrett should be out. But it is Jerry Jones.
Right.
And, we've gone on numerous, rants about Jerry Jones and his management of that team.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So-
he should be the one that's out. All right, this week's 4 Minutes of Football has been brought to you by our friends down in Maryland at www.herbfm.com, Herb FM Sports. And we ask that you please get over there, check them out. And every week they've been real good about it. Rebroadcast our show right here, usually on Saturdays. And I usually post that up on our Facebook page to let you know when that's coming. So Saturdays normally, though, they're rebroadcasting that. Let's get back, though, to the ACL story that we were just referencing, and let's get into a little bit. There was an announcement from the NFL today, and what was basically the content of that?
Right, and that's basically kind of why we flexed this, because originally, we posted it, and it was like, it was just an observation kind of thing. But then the NFL, in their infinite wisdom, came out with a report today saying, hey, by the way, through Week 13 of the 2013 season, ACL injuries are in fact down, according to a report that we had done for us.
Right.
And basically the numbers they're citing are so far this year through Week 13, there's been 30 ACL injuries in games starting from the preseason to Week 13. That doesn't include likes of Gronkowski, Von Miller, Sam Bradford.
Because those all occurred after Week 13.
But now, in last year, there were 39. Mm-hmm. The year in 2011, there were 35 and 37 in 2010.
In the same time period, up to Week 13.
They didn't specify.
Okay.
They say in the year.
Okay.
So that there's a little bit. They also play with the words and say in game.
Right.
And some of these injuries could have happened elsewhere. But Patriots coach, though, Bill Belichick, claims that they are up. Hasn't cited anything, but claims that they're up, and they're actually rising over the past 3 years. Now, contrary to this report, I found a CBS affiliate in Miami that linked to another article where they've been tracking ACL injuries for the season, since the beginning of the season, and they're saying that there's 55 ACLs so far, with names. We had Jeremy Maclin in the preseason. Aurelius Ben, Denario Alexander, Dustin Keller, Marquise Pouncey, LaRod Stevens-Howling, Vic Ballard, Sam Bradford, Reggie Wayne, Sidney Rice, Geno Atkins, Jabari Greer, Gronkowski, Matthew, Von Miller, Jake Long.
And a lot of those, as you point out, were not, say, in-game situations, which might be how the NFL is reporting this and extracting those numbers out.
Exactly.
Right. Which is, I mean, that's a fraud. Let's get it straight. That's just a flat-out fraud.
Yeah, they're manipulating the stats to reflect
I mean, one
what
of the
they
things
want.
you and I had discussed was the possibility that, in fact, the ACL injury this year was the new concussion.
Right.
That's the whole thing. Has the ACL become the new concussion?
Yeah.
And one would think one can see the tie. We talked about it right here so many times on Sundays, right here at the Frat House, about, how they've changed how guys can hit each other.
Right.
They have to go low. And this has been a lot of the talk about that is how are they going to rectify this, and is that really what's causing so many of the ACL, MCL, and all the other L injuries that are out there?
Well, and I think that's hard. That's also what's kind of hard to determine with it is, can you really quantify due to
exactly
changes in the high hits Is that really what's causing the ACLs? I mean, come on. I mean, we're talking about, knees and stuff,
Right.
which don't bend certain ways. And you've got guys that are, trying to turn and do different maneuvers that tend to blow out knees. So we don't know exactly how many of these are actually the rules, but it doesn't help when you have players coming out saying, yeah, I'm going for his knees because I don't want to fine for going high.
Exactly.
So you've got players that are outspoken about going low, which only makes, brings more attention to it.
Well,
So,
and I'm looking at the picture here of Bradford going off on the truck there, and I'm remembering that particular game where he went out. I mean, are they even counting that one? Because wasn't he on the sideline when he got hit? I think he was innocently standing on the sideline, wasn't he, when he got hit?
Yeah.
I mean, so are they even counting that? Or that wouldn't be an in-game situation.
Yeah.
He would have been on the sideline.
Well, and then,
So-
you look at Gronkowski, with that hit, that was a vicious hit.
Yep.
So to look at it from the other side, which, the first thing the guy, I forget who the defender was that hit him, came up and said, hey, I just didn't want to go high and get a fine.
Yep.
So,
Well, and it seems to me too. We've got 1 week left of the regular season, and then we've got 4 weeks for the playoffs. And I'm gonna bet you right now you're gonna see at least a handful more before we get through to the Super Bowl. There's going to be a couple more, and I don't think we're done hearing about this story. The discrepancy in numbers, and also the how this whole has kind of manifested itself, particularly this year. I don't think we've heard the last of this story. All right. Let's get into everyone's favorite time right here, and that's our picks of the week. And each one of these that we're going to be taking a look at, each one of these means playoffs for someone somewhere. And with so many implications this week, we're even going to throw in a couple extra at the end. And as usual, our picks of the week are brought to you by our friends Carl and Jim over at CLW83.com. And be sure to get over there and check out their network. And let's start it off with the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. That's 1 o'clock on Sunday. And it would only seem appropriate that the Super Bowl defending champion Baltimore Ravens would have one last chance to make the playoffs as a wild card, the last one remaining in the AFC. To do that, though, they're going to have to show up and play, unlike last weekend when they were hammered at home by the New England Patriots 41-7. Joe Flacco ended his day with a 56.9 QB rating after throwing 2 interceptions, both for pick sixes by the Patriots D. With both the San Diego Chargers and Miami Dolphins with identical 8-7 records, the Ravens have to take care of business on their own and on the road. Now, the Bengals last week, taking a look at the other side, put a similar Patriots-style beatdown on the Minnesota Vikings last Sunday, winning 42-14, and in so doing, locked up the AFC North Division title. The interesting dilemma here for the Bengals and head coach Marvin Lewis is whether to play Andy Dalton, Gio Bernard, A.G. Green, and company in what essentially is a meaningless game, or arrest them for a probable appearance in next week's playoffs. Vegas is either betting at this point that the Bengals play their starters, or they're thinking that the Ravens just suck, because the Bengals right now are still a 6-point favorite in this one. Where do you got this one going, Sidekick?
Well, the Ravens just haven't been consistent at all this season.
Talked about it.
But they could play the spoilers this weekend, because while yes, you're talking about potentially sitting some starters for the Bengals, they are trying to get the number 2 seed. They're undefeated at home this season.
Right.
So I don't see the Ravens coming in there and getting a win, but I would tend to think that they may want to start their starters till they get comfortable enough that they think that they've got the
For
game
maybe
in,
the first half, huh?
where they've got the game in hand potentially, and they just kind of need to try to maintain that lead and let the defense,
If it's all backups, though, do you think the Bengals still can beat this Ravens team?
The Ravens.
I know.
The Ravens have looked really bad this season. I'd almost say that I think the Raven at home, the Bengals second string could probably handle the Ravens.
Yep. So where do you got it going? You got it going.
So I'm going with the Ginger Giant on this one for the win, to try and get that number 2 seed, to try and get some home games, to have that statistical advantage of being unbeaten at home, going into the playoffs.
I have been so completely unimpressed with the Baltimore Ravens this year, and I have said it and said it and said it week after week after week. Just play a record. That frankly, I think that if it were all second stringers, they could very well lose. I'm going with the Bengals on this one. All right, number 2, we got the San Francisco 49ers at the Arizona Cardinals 4:25 game Sunday. All games, by the way, are Sunday. And in this particular one, we've got the exact same situation for the 11-4 49ers, who play their interdivision rival, the Cardinals, on the road, with the Cardinals just a game behind them. The 49ers beat the Atlanta Falcons on Monday night, but it wasn't as easy as it should have been. The Falcons kept pace with the Niners, excuse me, closing the score within 3 points with just 2:09 remaining in the fourth quarter, before the 49ers put it away 34-24. Kaepernick was good. Gore, Crabtree, and Bolden were better, accounting for 67% of the 49ers' offense. The incredible aspect about these Cardinals is that they may actually end up with an 11-5 season and not make the playoffs. However, if the Cardinals were a college team, they would certainly get consideration for a BCS bid, simply based on the fact that they went into Seattle last weekend and beat the Seahawks 17-10. That, despite the fact Carson Palmer threw, count them, 4 interceptions. Nonetheless, Palmer is currently ranked the 9th ranked quarterback in the league.
Holy nightmare!
It is. The strength of the Cardinals is their 6th ranked defense, number 1 against the run. We've got the same question here we did in our previous game. Will the 49ers play their regulars? Regardless, Vegas is making the 49ers a 1-point favorite in Arizona.
Well, I'm going to go with the Cardinals to steal one away from the 49ers, who are playoff bound already, and maybe looking past the Cardinals and looking at the playoffs.
Right.
So, I think they might be able to squeak one out at home.
Interesting. I'd love to be able to say it myself. I'd love to. But I'll tell you I'll tell you when I was making this pick this afternoon, I'll tell you where I stopped. Carson Palmer. I stopped right there. I had to. I understand the defense is very, very good. I give them a lot of credit. And they certainly can keep the team in games, as they've shown. But Carson Palmer is going to have to produce some points offensively against that defense of the 49ers. And I'm not sure it's going to happen. I'm picking the 49ers. All right. Number 3, let's go to the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears, 4:25 p.m. on Sunday again. Now, no questions coming in this one about starters in this game, and no question about Aaron Rodgers, who after missing the last 7 games with a broken collarbone, will start in this winner-take-all matchup with the Bears. The winner wins the division, the loser hits the Lynx. Somehow or another, in those 7 games missed, the Pack have managed to remain playoff relevant, having gone 2-4-1, and really it has to be that 26-26 tie with the Minnesota Vikings on November 24th that has really, really been the Green Bay Packers' savior. I'll bring it up, but it's barely worth mentioning that the Packers lost to the lowly Pittsburgh Steelers last week, 38-31, and lost their chance to be in sole possession of first place of the NFC North. But even that wouldn't have changed the importance of this game, as it still would have come down to a face-off between them and the Bears. The only question for Packers fans right now is how effective and or rusty will Rodgers be? The Bears similarly missed their opportunity last weekend as they came into Philadelphia and wished the game had ended at halftime. When the game finally did end, the Bears limped out of Lincoln Financial Field with a 54-11 loss. None of the Bears' weapons, not Forte, Marshall, Jeffrey, Bennett, were terribly effective as the Eagles' D just swarmed both the run and pass game, getting a pick six, 54-yard interception, and let's throw in a 2-point safety for fun. Tough game to pick here, Sidekick, as I really think it's going to come down to the effectiveness of both QBs. Currently, Vegas has yet to set a line on this game, so we're going to have to do it for them. At least, oh, actually, I'm wrong about that. I was informed that, in fact, the line right now is 3 points in favor of Green Bay. So that came out very late, of course, after the announcement that Rodgers is in the mix. So 3 points in favor right now of Green Bay. Where do you got it going?
Well, herald the Christmas miracle that the cheeseheads have been praying for. It's Aaron Rodgers. He's back just in time to save their playoff hopes. But, when you look at Rodgers, though, season long, typically he starts off a little slow in the season, and then he comes on towards the playoffs. He's been out now for a number of weeks. I do question, like you do, how rusty is he going to be? Is he going to be able to come back in and actually get this offense going? But they are playing the Bears, in Chicago with everything on the line. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to step up, and he's going to embarrass the Bears.
Okay. How about that one? I think this is going to come down to Cutler. Which Cutler are we going to see that's going to come out? And that's going to be the difference. I'm hoping it's going to be the good Cutler. And if it is, and if we can get Forte into the mix and all the others, then look for the Bears to pull this one off. I'm going with the Bears.
Oh, no!
Yes. All right, last but not least, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys, and that's 8:30 on Sunday. Currently, the Philadelphia Eagles hold a one-game lead over the Cowboys in the NFC East in what's coming out to be, another winner-take-all matchup. Now, I just mentioned that the Eagles had manhandled the Bears 54-11 last Sunday night with LaShawn McCoy picking up 133 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. But also the frequently absent Bryce Brown. Well, he also had 115 yards rushing and a touchdown of his own. Overall, the Eagles had 289 yards and 4 touchdowns from running backs. Throw in the defensive TD, 2 TDs in the air, 230 yards passing, and Nick Foles with another 3-digit QB rating performance, this time 131.7, and the Eagles were practically perfect. The Dallas Cowboys just barely got by the Washington Redskins, winning by just 1 point, 24-23, thanks to a Romo to DeMarco Murray 10-yard pass with just 1:08 remaining in the fourth quarter. The summary to this game is simple. The boys barely won, and in so doing were strictly mediocre on both sides of the ball. But then the news broke Monday that Tony Romo has a herniated disc in his back and would not play again for the remainder of the season. By Tuesday, however, both Jerry Jones and head coach Jason Garrett were downplaying these stories, indicating that, in fact, Romo may very well play. At this moment, we're still not certain. Now, with or without Romo, it comes down to this, folks. All right, and let me run it by you. And at the risk of sounding like a homer, here it is in a nutshell. The Eagles have Nick Foles, who has thrown 25 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions and leads the league in QB rating. They've got LaShawn McCoy, the league's leading rusher. They have Deshaun Jackson, the 8th-ranked receiver in the league. They have Nick Foles' favorite target, Riley Cooper, of all people, who currently has 8 touchdowns and 796 yards. What do the Cowboys have? Well, they've got a big question mark at QB, which will likely be filled by Kyle Orton, who has only thrown for 1 touchdown dating back to 2011. They have the 32nd ranked defense in the entire league. There is no 33rd rank, but if there was, they'd be there. They're 31st against the pass, 27th against the rush. Perhaps the only plus for the Cowboys is the fact they are at home, where they have been 5-2 this season. And, well,
is that the best you got, huh? Is that the best you can do?
They beat the Eagles this season in Week 7 on October 20th, 17-3.
You did forget their biggest weapon, Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones. Boy, that's a weapon, I'll tell you.
What the hell is happening? Who's in charge there?
with Romo out the line on this game has ballooned all the way to 6.5 in favor of the Eagles. This is looking more and more like maybe a no-brainer, but I hate to count my chickens before they're hatched. What do you think?
Well, I was hoping that this game was actually going to live up to the hype. It was supposed to be a winner-takes-all division matchup. Are we going to see the Romo, December Romo that we see? Are the Eagles going to be able to advance? All that stuff. Now it's just turned into a Rex Ryan media circus.
Yep.
We've got reports coming out that, Romo's seeking a second opinion to get cleared to play. You've got, first it's reported he's out for the season. No, hold up, wait a minute. It just sounds like this game's turned into when it's over and the Eagles have won, Dallas just coming up with excuse after excuse why they couldn't win again this year.
Right.
So I'm going to go with the Eagles on this. It's a no-brainer, really, like you pointed out. I just wish that this game really was going to be an interesting one, and I'm sad now that they flexed it to the 8:30 game when they probably should have flexed the Packers game.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing. And, it's very possible that could have happened had, the announcement regarding Aaron Rodgers not come today, but it come, a week ago, where I think they have to flex. I think they have up to 10 days prior to the game to actually do the flexing. But if they had known, for a fact last week that Aaron Rodgers was going to play, I have a funny feeling that might have been the game to be flexed. Like yourself, however, when the news came down on Monday that Romo was not playing, I got to be honest, listen, I know a lot of Eagles fans that were probably jumping up and down. I, for one, was somewhat disappointed. I wanted to be able to go up against Romo. I wanted to play that one. And if the Eagles were going to win it outright the right way, as you say, to avoid all that nonsense that's going to be heard after the fact as to why the Cowboys went into that game such an underdog. Oh, poor Cowboys. Look at all they had to put up with. So I'm going to take the Eagles as well. Albeit, I'm always in a position where I'm a little bit nervous.
Well,
any given Sunday.
Yes, but one good favor, though, it's not an Andy Reid-led team.
That's true. It's much more balanced offensive attack. We just saw that last weekend.
So,
Yep.
Where we've, come to expect the Eagles to fall over, like you see Matt Stafford
or have
Tony
a one-dimensional offensive game. Right.
I have a little bit more faith that, they're going to come to play this weekend. So
I agree with you. Okay, and just for fun, because there are so many games that do have implications, let's take a look at a couple of other games that have wild card implications, Sidekick, and I'm just going to mention these, and we can make our picks on them, but we're not going to count these against, say, our annual record of. In other words, we're not going to count them towards whether we're right or wrong. But these are games that do have playoff and particularly wild card implications. And the first of those is the New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins, and that's 1 o'clock Sunday. This is a must-win for Miami. They have to win this one in order to even have a chance at making the final wild card spot in the AFC. Right now, the Dolphins are favored by 5.5.
Okay, are we really highlighting the Jets here?
No,
Come on, man.
Can I tell you something? It's interesting you say that. This is the first time all year that the Jets have been on this screen all year long, and actually, we're doing this, folks, just to give fair time to those teams that we have never had up here at all.
There seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Here's the thing. I expect.
They're 7-8, dude.
Still.
I know.
I expect the Dolphins to eke this one out and put the final nail in Rex Ryan's tenure in New York.
Yep. Yeah, eking out, I think, is probably the correct word. I'm looking for Miami to win that one as well. Let's go take a look real quick. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New Orleans Saints, 4:25 on Sunday. New Orleans most likely locks up the final wild card spot in the NFC with a win. Most likely does that. And they are favored to do so by 12.5 over the Bucs. Okay, yeah.
I guess that's my cue, right?
Yep.
It's Christmas.
No words needed.
It's
no
Christmas.
words needed on this
No,
one.
the Saints are lucky to be heading home because they've been absolutely horrible on the road. So I'm looking for the Saints to come in, handle the Buccaneers. That's not going to be a problem. The problem I think the Saints have is if Carolina knocks off the Falcons, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say they do, they're on the road through the playoffs as the wild cards. And with their road record, their Saints are done.
New Orleans, I think, home or away, really haven't looked as dominant as they did, I would say, in the first 7, 8, 9 weeks of the season. And I know Tampa Bay has actually looked a little bit better in some games recently nearer to the end of the season. But it's Tampa Bay, folks. It's Tampa Bay. Come on.
Yeah.
New Orleans. They may not cover the 12.5, but take New Orleans to win that one. And last but not least, let's take a look real quick at the Kansas City Chiefs at the San Diego Chargers, 4:25 on Sunday. Same situation here. Chargers must win to have a chance at the final wild card in the AFC. Chargers are favored by 9.5 and are expecting to see all of KC's backups at this point right now. And I think pretty much I even read that Andy Reid has said as such. Some starters will play for a little bit. We don't know how long. Where do you got this one?
Well, based on how they played last week,
let's go have a ham
I
sandwich.
think they could play their starters for the whole game and still lose to the Chargers. This is an Andy Reid-led team, and as we saw them lose last week, we're going to see them lose this week.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which doesn't bode well for them in the playoffs. I don't see them going far in the playoffs either.
4, they'd be 11-5. I don't know. All right, well,
Time's
see how that
yours.
goes, but I'm going to take San Diego as well. And so there you go. Those are the games that we know for a fact. And there'll probably be others that may, as the day goes on, have implications. But these are the ones that jump right off the page at you when you look at the standings. All right, that's our show for this week. We'll be coming back at you next week with our New Year's show on January 2nd. And before we get to that, make sure you're getting over and checking out our new and improved website, FratHouseSports.net. Going to have some new content up there in the next couple of days. Another column coming to you from Uncle Mark over there on the NHL side. So that'll be up over there in the next couple of days. So you want to be checking that one out in your time off that you have for perhaps these holidays. And speaking of the holidays, it is still yet the Christmas season. So therefore, again, we wish all of you a very, very happy Christmas season, Merry Christmas season, and Happy New Year coming on the 1st. And we will be back here with you next week, as I said, for our New Year's show on January 2nd. In the meantime, one more thing I'm going to ask you to do before this year concludes. You got to keep us real. You got to keep us live. You got to keep us going. We'll see you next year. Okay, so I have it down here this way, and to avoid having to rewrite the script and do too much with the slides, which I added a couple of slides, I'm just going to leave it in there because it was Von Miller that went down with the ACL on Sunday. So I thought you would just bring that up real quick.
Okay.
And then I might throw in a comment or two about it. Certainly seems like there have been an awful lot of these this year, and then you can go back and say, well, we're going to get more into that story momentarily.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to get in more into that story momentarily. Okay? Huh?
That's an awful lot in front of
No, it's not. It's going to go real fast. Don't trust me. It's going to go real fast. And if the Miller thing goes too far, oh, did I not put Miller back in there?
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
backside?
No,
oh,
you
yeah.
got Miller
okay.
on the back
If
side.
it goes too long, then you're just going to go right to the next Miller slide. Okay.